Caesarea Maritima was built by Herod the Great on the banks of the Mediterranean Sea. It was the home of the Roman centurion Cornelius, who we see that Peter was sent to preach the gospel to him in Acts chapter 10. One of the marvels of Caesarea is the amphitheater. It was built by Herod the Great to seat 3,500 spectators. It has amazing acoustics. There's actually a marble slab at a strategic point on the floor of the amphitheater where if a performer stands in that spot, they can be heard by all 3,500 spectators. The amphitheater also uses the ocean breeze to help carry the voice of the performers. In the middle of the amphitheater, there's a square-like section cut out, which was the king's seat. And according to Josephus, this is where Agrippa sat when Paul made his defense before him in Acts chapter 12. Moving out from the amphitheater, there are some amazing examples of ancient architecture, including this arch that has stood the test of time. They're continuing to excavate the area around the amphitheater. From this angle, you can see just how big the amphitheater is. They found some columns and capitals outside of the amphitheater, some of which have a Christian cross inscribed on them. They believe this was dating back to the time of Constantine. Caesarea became the heart of Roman rule in Palestine, and for years Bible critics have pointed out that there has been no archaeological evidence to support Pontius Pilate ruling during the time of Christ. But they have found just that. Archaeology and science are always running to catch up with God's truth. And they in fact did find inscriptions pointing out that Pontius Pilate ruled in this area during the time of Christ. Herod's palace went out into the sea at Caesarea Maritima, and he had to have fresh water to his city, so there were large aqueducts built, and here's one of the Roman wells that was close to Herod's palace. As you get closer to his palace, there are also latrines for the public, seats of varying sizes. As Herod's palace went out over the water, it was called a floating palace. It had a lower level and an upper level. It was an amazing piece of ancient artwork with beautiful mosaics. Here's the foundation of the lower level, and Herod had private pools that were built on as a part of his palace. Around the corner from Herod's palace is the Hippodrome. Herod built the Hippodrome to seat 16,000 people. He wanted it to rival the Olympic Games. It was most known for its deadly chariot races, mostly done by slaves, mostly with one living survivor who would in turn repeat the games the next day. When Constantine became emperor, his Christian conscience was so bothered by these deadly games that he erected a wall separating the arena floor to where chariots could no longer complete a circle. Herod had to have fresh water for the Hippodrome, for his city, for his palace, for the amphitheater, and so he had aqueducts built that went for 8 miles. These aqueducts began at the base of Mount Carmel and brought fresh water for 8 miles into the city of Caesarea Maritima. Caesarea Maritima is an ancient city full of history, and a history that points to and supports the truth of God's Word.